On today's episode of Pop Counts, we continue to create a baseline. We go over Ken Griffey Jr. and all his rookie cards, get into a little bit of John Havlicek, Joe Montana 1981 Topps rookie, and a recent sale of a 1933 Lou Gehrig. The 1989 Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck rookie card is one of the more iconic cards in the sports market hobby, and it's a great card to create a baseline. And you can see here it's also the most graded card of all time. And that's why the PSA 10 only sells for $2,100. Well, because there's 4,000 of them. On top of that, this was a time in the sports card market where we were having multiple manufacturers, and that meant more than one rookie card for each player. And this was something new in the sports card market, and it's trended till today. And here you can see the other Ken Griffey Jr. rookie cards that came out in 1989, and those pop counts, while not as high as his Upper Deck, are still very, very high. And the Upper Deck card does get all the love, leaving these cards a little more or a little less sought after. You can see there the PSA 10 rated rookie goes for about $400 instead of $4,000, and there's 2,000 of those graded. You take a look at that in the middle Ken Griffey Jr. card, the Fleer, that has 5,000 cards graded in a PSA 10. 5,000, over 30,000 in a PSA 9, and that's why you can see it's so cheap. So the name of the game, every project video we do here is pop count. Pop count matters so much. How rare is the card? And this really changes the name of the game from the late 80s until now, where any card that you want prior, any rookie card, there's just one of them. And that drastically changes come the late 80s. Now that will change again in the 2000s when you start finding autograph cards, rookie cards, patch rookie cards, and of the nature. And that takes on another beast of its own, because now you have one of ones or auto cards that maybe are out of 100 where only a fewer PSA 10. And I don't know how that'll hold up in long term or short term in the card market, but it is a different differentiation between this late 80s period to the 2000s. Here is yet again another 1989 Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. This is his Topps traded, and the PSA counts, the pop counts are just incredibly high, and it reflects in the price. And it is a good, again, this is a baseline card, and it's amazing to think that cards with this high of pop counts are still relevant, can still hold value 30 years later. That is a good sign for some of the cards from today. But again, this is one of the best baseball players of all time, iconic, and one of the sweetest swings of all time. So let's stick with the GOATs and Grails and try to create a baseline. Here's the Jerry Rice rookie card, 1986. It's his one and only. Now, the Griffey card at 92,000 total, that is an anomaly. That's not the norm. 28,000 cards here graded, 59 in a PSA 10, and look at that price, $66,000. That's more accurate in a telling than what the... Here's another one. Here's the Joe Montana, and about double the PSA 10. And if you do want to spend more time on the Jerry Rice card, in the previous video in this series, there's more time spent on that Rice. And the Joe Montana you see here, $48,000 card in a PSA 10 with only 109, but then a drastic drop is a PSA 9 with over 2,000 of those graded, and the value is only 1,600. So between this and the Rice, it seems like 1,000 graded cards drops the value down in around a couple grand. You got to be a GOAT. Now, of course, that's something we'll continue to look at, is I want to know what that breaking point is. And yes, for these GOAT-like players, 100 cards graded, 50, even 200 graded, keeps that price relatively high. But once you start getting to 1,000 copies graded, 2,000 copy graded, that really brings the price much lower. So next, what we're going to do is take a look at a card that does have a lower pop count. And this is going back to 1969 Topps. This is John Havlicek's rookie card. He has 1,800 of those graded. And it's hard to compare vintage baseball with vintage basketball, because vintage baseball really does hold a higher premium at the moment. I personally think that's something that will change in the future, and even the near future. These basketball cards are going to continue to rise. And here you see there's only 2 PSA 10 John Havliceks. The most recent sale went for $85,000. There's only 30 in a PSA 9, and you see that keeps that up to 18 grand. Now, John Havlicek is not Bill Russell. He's not Larry Bird. For that matter, he's not even Wilt Chamberlain or Kobe Bryant. But this card is going to be sought after, and I see numbers like 2 as a PSA 10 and 30 as a PSA 9, and only seeing room for this type of card to continue growing based off the pop count being so low. Then you get into a PSA 8, 7, 6, and you see there's over 200 in each of those, and it brings the price much further down. But I think that premium on 32 cards from a 9 to a 10, and only 2 being a 10, this card will continue to appreciate because of the PSA pop. At least that's what I'm discovering. And here, this is a perfect example. Lou Gehrig 1933 DeLong just sold this week in a PSA 8 for $135,000. There's only 8 copies, and it's only a PSA, but there's nothing higher than that. And that just goes to prove that this concept of pop count, limited, rarity, is gonna be what keeps a card appreciating over time. And while pop counts are definitely up in 1969 with the John Havlicek, and definitely up from there from 1986 or 81 with the Rice and Joe Montana, but there is a line drawn in the late 80s there where now there's multiple rookie cards and cards of every player, making each rookie card less limited, and as well as just overprint and now more modern cards is a whole nother ballgame, and really interesting because there's cards like these that are one of ones or very limited. However, there's so many parallels and so many serial number cards. Does that water it down in the future? Or will there be select cards of rookies, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, anybody, even John Morant, whose pop counts are ridiculously high this early in his career? There still should be certain cards that do hold value because there's very few of them. And as time goes on, the people with big money rather collect the more rare stuff, or you want the best you can get. And if you have more money, you can get the best. And that'll be some of the rarer quantity cards of modern day players. Summing up some early trends on PSA pop counts, we can make some observations. Now, this only applies to players that had good careers and are still going to be in demand, Hall of Fame worthy, and worth collecting. That's who this applies to. Players that have a pop count of under 200 in any grade, those prices are showing to be much, much higher. And once you reach a pop count of over 200, 300 or more, once you have more than that, it's closer to like cards in the thousands of pop count, or at 1,000. And at 1,000 pop count, it significantly reduces. There's more supply out there, and supply and demand is shining, where the supply is out there, so the price it's not requiring those bidders that are bidding on the card or buying the card to spend top dollar because there's more out there. It's definitely been inconsistent in all the cards we've looked at so far. Now, it's early. We've only looked at maybe a dozen to 2 dozen cards, and really closer to a dozen. But it is a common, and it's a trend that continues to pop up. And I look forward to adding more cards to this project and truly seeing what are the numbers that matter. The last thing I want to make sure we talk about, because it was highlighted in this video, is the modern or newer cards from 2010 on, such as the Steph Curry auto that's beautiful. And there's one of one. This thing will stay at high price because the supply is so low, and someone with a lot of money, with a great collection, can afford to go after it. They don't want the average $1,000 Curry because they have a lot more money, and they want the one of one or the 1 of 10. That's what their budget can go after. That's what they want. And if my budget and my card collection could go after that, I would. And what's showing is supply matters. And Steph Curry or Luka or LeBron, these are legendary players. They will live on. And when there's a 1 of 1 or low supply, it will definitely add to the price over the years. And now comes in the good old card market, because manufacturing right now, especially, they're just overprinting everything. And even what was a one-of-one card or jersey card, well, now there's hundreds of those for Trevor Lawrence or some of these other current modern players. And so maybe those really won't hold true value, at least some. It depends what the overall market is, how easy it is to get one of these. Is it really a one-of-one, or are there another 700 one-of-ones like it? And so very interesting how it will hold up and the differences.
What up, everybody? This is Robert Ory, a.k.a. Big Shot Bob, and you're watching Professional Sports Cards. Hey, by the way, go buy my rookie card.